The reason why I came to South America was one reason. It was very clear to me. I wanted an adventure. I was very, very naive, bright-eyed, open to the world. Everything is possible. There was an X with a pen. Carl said, the Indians are there. We had no reason not to believe him. As we set off from Asariamas, we started seeing, like things were changing, and we weren't exactly the same people already. And I think the reason for it was that we knew we're leaving civilization behind, and this is it, just the four of us. We don't have food because Carl sensibly is saying we wouldn't carry, like tins and stuff. There's lots of game, so we'll hunt. That's what you do in the jungle. All we have is rice, beans, and salt. That's all. The rest comes from the jungle. But what we kill is not so pleasant. It's gruesome. And Carl waves it in the end and screaming, and you see the wilderness in his eyes. He's his element. He loves it. Marcus wouldn't bring himself to eat. We're killing to eat. Marcus thinks, can we save that monkey? By now, we're like 4 or 5 days away from Asariamas, towards that Indian village. We are in a better shape in a way because we learned how to deal with this environment, how to negotiate the undergrowth, how to use the creeks and rivers and walk, and we became all tougher. But Marcus, he said it's tremendous pain. We didn't believe him because it was part of it. Okay, now he's complaining, he's always finding a reason to complain. I was very upset because my dream, to make contact with the Indians, that dream was gone, and it was mainly because of Marcus. In the rainforest, Carl was the authority, and rightly so. But not anymore, because on the river, Kevin saw immediately that Carl is no authority. It was ridiculous, because Carl didn't know how to swim. So now there was like fighting on the raft. They were fighting because Carl said, we have to pull to the left. And Kevin said, nonsense, you have to go to the other side. Crazy, on a river like that, like no cooperation, no friendship. It was hell. He called us and he said, down from here. It's a canyon, and there's no way, if you're going in, you're dying. There's no way out of it. Carl said, if you want to live, let's walk. We wanted out. This was a misadventure. It wasn't fun for me either. And Kevin was the only one that was not happy at all. It was a moment I just didn't know what to do. I mean, in my guts, I wanted to go with Carl and Marcus. But I already had this relationship with Kevin, like Kevin was my hero. Kevin, I chose Kevin, in that split, I chose Kevin. He was my man. So I stuck with him. I said, okay, I'm coming with you. It was heart-wrenching. It was like a betrayal. We betrayed him, and it was a terrible feeling. I really felt ashamed. Kevin and I went into full excitement, into let's the adventure begin. A new chapter, no more 4 people. Kevin became the authority, and I accepted his authority. I guess part of it was an issue of age, but other part was that I didn't know rivers. It's becoming much more intense. Like the river is getting narrow, the water swifter. We're just shooting straight into white water. Both of us were lying on the raft. That was the only thing we could do. Suddenly, it was clear to me that nothing that can prevent us from colliding with this huge rock that was approaching. I don't want him to jump. He tells me why he's jumping, and his plan is completely suicidal. But in that stage, I think not only that it's suicidal, he kills me. And then at the same time, the raft moves, and I hear that terrible screech. The mass of water just... There's like huge pressure on my chest. And I can feel that, like the power of the river. I'm shooting at such a high speed and deep under the waters. It's like the pressure surmounts. I cannot breathe. I feel this is it. I'm exploding. I'm dying. And I knew this is my end. After a long time in the river, I was spat again into the surface. And that terrible canyons behind me. How did I pass it? I just don't know. I just have no understanding of it. But I was on the other side. I wanted to be back with Carl now. Up until now, there was a fire. Now no fire, and I'm all alone. And every shadow outside was menacing. I knew I lost everything and everybody. I was in hysteria. early morning of the day after this tragedy, this disaster, I hear this scratch, this metallic scratch. Behind the rock, there's a small pool. In the middle there, the backpack is waiting.
Yes!
When Kevin made this bag, he said, "Give me everything important to you, because this is the life bag." He tied 2 empty things to have it float. I put the backpack on my back, and now with a new spirit, I climbed up thinking that it's gonna be easy now. Kevin and I get together, and it's gonna be over. We've got the equipment. It's gonna be a good story. The only thing that kind of kept me going was the notion that Kevin is running after me and he will follow me and things will be fine when Kevin comes. I just clearly heard some branch breaking, something is moving. I knew, I'm not imagining that something is moving near me. It was consuming that fear. I just realized, I knew it, Kevin. Something happened to Kevin. Something happened to Kevin and he probably died. I took the map out and I started studying it. Suddenly, I remember Carl told us about some camp, the gold mining camp, about 4 days away, upriver.
Playa.
So now I had like an idea. I have to walk, and looking at the map, it was very hard to work it out, but I thought within 2, 3, 4 days maximum I'm making it to the camp. And once I made it to the camp, I'll have a trail to follow, and I'll make it out. And here I am singing out loud, my chest open, enjoying the scenery and fully trusting I'm gonna make it. I suddenly discover a tree, and I saw clearly it was actually cut with a machete.
Kevin?
And then it all makes sense to me. Actually, Kevin was doing the same thing. That was, he knew I would be trying to go to Playa. So I'm sure Kevin is there before me. I kept on walking along that trail, and it started being a bit strange because the marks weren't as clear as before. Deep in the bush, I had no sense of direction. And now I was stuck with this little trail and hoping that it will lead me back to the river and to the camp. And then after hours where I'm already despaired because, you know, it took me away from the river, I see this footprint. It's not an old footprint. I see that footprint in the mud and I realize this is a hiking boot and there's only one person in the world that could have left that footprint. It's Kevin. I just made it a rule. I'm not gonna lose the river again. Suddenly, there was this opening along the river and I saw the hut. I was so hurt. The disease on my feet, this fungus, reached my hands as well, and my hands were raw as well. And I felt that not only the pain that was so excruciating, but I actually remembered how Marcus had that, and I remember that I actually didn't believe him, and I thought that he's a wimp. And for a second I was thinking that maybe what has happened to me was directly related to the way I behaved to him, to my friend. And now I know, because I suffer myself. It took me seconds to understand, but by the time I understood, it was too late. It was a flood, and the river rose. By that time, I was really in bad situation. It was the 15th day of my solitude. I couldn't start a fire, there was no sun to dry, and no food, and the rain, and wet. But things were clear. I just had to stand on my feet and keep on walking. Because I knew, now there's one thing, find the river. I hear that noise. And I listen to that noise because it's so foreign. And I start realizing it's an airplane. I'm saved, and I know everything now. I know also that Kevin is in the plane. I know. It's a plane after me. I know it's Kevin there. And I'm just jumping on my feet, and I'm running, and I'm screaming. You know, as soon as I realized this airplane was just oblivious to me, I just collapsed. For the first time, I was defeated. You know, I felt defeated. I knew that so much hope, and they didn't see me, and there's no way they could see me. And then I'm telling her to come closer to me, and there's nobody. I know there's nobody here. So I started realizing that I don't know what's going on anymore. Maybe I'm becoming insane. And there were like hundreds of them, and then thousands of them, and I couldn't escape. There was no way I could escape. But the worst horror was the ray of light hitting a red carpet, you know, like everything around me. 5, 6 meters around me, everywhere. It was all red and moving. My body was like a colander. There was no place in my body that wasn't bleeding. And I just had to escape now. And I stood on my feet and I kept on walking. On my knees, on my elbows, I'm crawling. Suddenly I started seeing a few things that I recognized, and it was actually Kuriplaya. I went all the way back to that deserted mining camp. But the mining camp wasn't there anymore. The flood took everything. My feet weren't feet anymore. They were like 2 lumps, 2 chunks of blood and pus. All I want is to rest. Let me die. I clearly heard a buzz, like a bee or a wasp, and it's like coming closer, and I can start hearing it circulating my head. So, you know, I'm already in like the zone of like delirium. I'm just trying to get rid of that wasp, and it's so strong, that noise. In a certain point, I think maybe it's trapped inside the mosquito nets. And I raise my head and I just try to get rid of that wasp. And the buzz is in my ears. And as I raise my head, and I don't see the wasp. But when I turn my head, right there on the beach, I see shades and people. I mean, it's like at that stage, I don't know what's going on. Just, you know, like Kevin, like a flesh is already there, and I'm collapsing in his arms, and we just hold each other and hold each other. Now it's just emotion. We cry and cry and cry. My life was spared. I mean, I know Kevin saved my life, but it was a miracle. For sure, it was a miracle. It was a shock to us to discover that there was no trace of Marcus or Carl. Kevin went back into the rainforest immediately to search for them, and he couldn't find anything, any sign, any track. It just evaporated. It was a life and death issue, and we decided for him that he should go out. Yeah, we did think, both Kevin and I, we were thinking that what we are doing is more dangerous. If this is an excuse, we were thinking that. Still, we made that decision for him, and he never came back.